Hello my schoolers, you are welcome to my school YouTube channel and my name is Frank. In today's video we shall be tackling JAMB CBT mathematics past question for the year 2004. So relax, do not go anywhere and we'll be right back. You are welcome back to my school YouTube channel. In today's video, we shall be answering question 1 to 25. So let's kick off with question 1. An arc of a circle of length 22 centimeters subtends an angle of 3s degrees at the center of the circle. Find the value of s if the diameter of the circle is 14 centimeters. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So just remember that the arc is just a slice of the circumference of the circle. Okay, so if we are calculating for length of an arc of a circle, we simply use theta over 360 then times 2 pi r. Okay, so we simply use this formula to find the length of the arc. So but in this question, the length of the arc has been given to us to be equals to 22. And the angle subtended at the center of the circle is given to us to be 3s degrees, then all over 360, then times 2 times 22 all over 7. Remember, pi is 22 over 7, then times, now remember here we are given diameter, but we needed radius here. So this diameter, we just divide it by 2. So if I divide this by 2, okay, so the 14 we divide it by 2 to get our radius, so which will be equals to 7 centimeters. So here we replace it with 7. Okay, so the next thing we just cancel out so that we can make this the subject of formula, right? So 7 we cancel out 7, then we cross multiply. Okay, so that on our left hand side we'll be having 3s degree times 2 times 22 to be equals to 22 times 360. Okay, so 22 here can take out 22, 2 here will be 1, and 2 here will be 180, 3 here will be s degree, okay, while 3 here will be 60 degrees, okay. At the end of the day, s degrees is actually equals to 60 degrees, okay. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option A, 60 degrees. Question 2. Find the value of alpha squared plus beta squared if alpha plus beta is equals to 2 and the distance between points, so these are the coordinates of the point, 1 and alpha and beta and 1 is 3 units. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So basically this question is on the distance between 2 points. And remember that to calculate for distance between 2 points, we use the formula. Let's say the 2 points are AB. So we use the formula, the square root of S2 minus S1 in bracket square plus Y2 minus Y1 in bracket square. Okay, so basically this is the formula we use for calculating the distance between 2 points. But remember, in this case, the distance between the 2 points were given to us to be 3 units. So here we can replace here with 3 units, right? And these are the coordinates of the points. So here we're going to call 1 S1, we call alpha Y1, then beta will be S2, then 1 here will be Y2. Okay, so basically we just substitute it into this formula to calculate for alpha squared plus beta squared. So let's take the square root of both sides so that this part we can open up this part. So if we take the square root of this side, we'll be having 2 squared to be equals to S2 minus X1 in bracket square plus Y2 minus Y1 in bracket square. So let's substitute our values. So this will be equals to, okay, so 3 raised to power 2 is 9. So let's leave our 9 here. Then let's fill in the value. So remember our S2 is beta, so here will be beta, then minus our S1 is 1 in bracket square, then plus Y2 is 1, then minus Y1 is alpha, so here will be alpha all squared. So let's expand this. So to expand this, basically you square this, okay, that's the fastest way to do it, okay. So you square this, so if we take the square root of beta, we'll be having, if we take the square of beta, we'll be having beta square, then use beta to multiply minus 1, then multiply it by 2, So here we'll be having minus 2 beta. Okay, use beta to multiply minus 1, then multiply it by 2. So that will give us minus 2 beta. Then take the square of minus 1. So the square of minus 1 is plus 1. Okay, then here we have plus since we have opened up this bracket. So we still do the same thing here. So if we take the square of 1, that will give us 1. Then we use this 1 to multiply the minus alpha. That will give us minus alpha. Then we times it by 2. So that will give us minus 2 alpha. Then we square the minus alpha. So if we take the square of minus alpha, that will give us plus alpha square. Okay, so all of this is equals to 9. So let's tidy up this part. So let's continue from this part of the board. So we just bring the alpha and beta, alpha square and beta square together first. So here we have 9 to be equals to beta square plus alpha square. Okay, then 1 plus 1 is going to give us 2. So let's bring this one closer to. So here we're having minus 2 beta, then minus 2 alpha, then plus 2. Okay, so let's simplify further. So here we're having 9 is equals to beta square plus alpha square. Then let's open up this. Since we have minus and we have minus, and we have 2 common to both of them. So we can bring out the minus 2 and now put the beta and the alpha in brackets, then plus 2. But remember, in this question, we are asked to take alpha plus beta to be equals to 2. Now remember that your beta plus alpha is still the same thing as alpha plus beta. Remember, addition is commutative. So if I'm saying 4 plus 2 is equals to 6, then 2 plus 4 is still equals to 6. Okay, so it doesn't change anything. So here we'll be having 9 plus beta square plus alpha square, then minus 2 bracket 2, since beta plus alpha is equals to 2, then plus 2. Okay, so 9 will be equals to beta square plus alpha square, then minus 4 plus 2. So minus 4 plus 2 is 2. So here we'll be having 9 is equals to beta square plus alpha square minus 2. Now remember, in this question we are asked to calculate for alpha square plus beta square. Remember, beta square plus alpha square is still the same thing as alpha square plus beta square. Okay, it's still the same. For example, if I'm having 2 square plus 1 square, okay, so this will be equals to 5. Okay, so if I'm having 1 square plus 2 square, it's still 5. It doesn't change anything. Okay, so we just move this, since we are looking for this, so we move minus 2 to this side of the equation, so that our beta square plus alpha square is equals to 9 plus 2, and that will be equals to 11. Okay, meaning that the value of alpha square plus beta square is equals to 11. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option D, 11. Question 3. The sum of the interior angles of a pentagon is 6x plus 6y. Find y in the terms of x. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So we are asked to find y in terms of x, meaning that we should make y the subject of formula. Okay, so here we are told that the sum of interior angles of a pentagon is equals to 6x plus 6y. But remember that we have a formula for calculating the sum of the interior angles of any polygon. Okay, so and that formula is n minus 2 in bracket multiplied by 180. Okay, so this is the formula for finding the sum of interior angles of any polygon. So but in the case of this question, we are told that it's equals to 6x plus 6y, since we are considering pentagon. So pentagon means a 5-sided polygon, right? So in place of n here, we replace it with 5. So we're having 5 minus 2 in bracket times 180 is equals to 6x plus 6y. So 5 minus 2 will be 3, then times 180. Remember, bracket means times. Okay, and this is equals to 6x plus 6y. So if we multiply this out, we'll be having 540 is equals to 6x plus 6y. But remember, in this question, we are asked to make y the subject of formula. Okay, that is what solve find y in terms of x means. So here we just move 6x to this side. So if we move 6x to this side of the equation, we're having 6y to be equals to 540 minus 6x. So we divide both sides by the coefficient of y, which is 6 in this case, so that y is equals to 540 minus 6x divided by 6. Okay, so there's something common. What is common here is actually 6. Okay, so let's factor out 6. So 6 will come out, and here we'll be having 90, then minus, then we'll have x left here, all over 6. So 6 will cancel out 6, so that y is equals to 90 minus 6. Okay, so let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option A, 90 minus x. Question 4. In the diagram above, PQ is equals to 4 centimeters and TS is equals to 6 centimeters. If the area of parallelogram PQTU is 32 centimeters square, find the area of the trapezium PQRU. So let's return back to the screen to provide answer to this question. So this is the diagram that is given to us, and these are all the labeling. Okay, so first of all, we are told that the area of the parallelogram PQTU, okay, PQTU is equals to 32 centimeters square, right? But remember that the area of a parallelogram is given as base times height. Okay, so in this case we know the area to be equals to 32 centimeters square, but we know the base to be 4 centimeters, but we don't know the height. So from here we can actually calculate for the height. Okay, and remember that this height that we are calculating for actually represent the height of the trapezium, okay, that we'll be calculating for the area. Okay, so if we should do that, we'll be having h to be equals to 32 divided by 4, and this will be equals to 8 centimeters. Okay, so with this now we can now calculate for the trapezium PRU. Okay, PQRU. So this is the trapezium that we're calculating for the area, PQRU. But remember that the trapezium and the parallelogram, they have common height. Okay, and also remember that the parallel sides of a parallelogram are equal. So this is one parallelogram. Okay, this part is parallel to this side, and this side also is also parallel to this side. Okay, so if here is 4, then here is also 4 centimeters, and this place too is also 4 centimeters. Remember that the parallel sides of a parallelogram are equal. So this line is parallel to this line, PQ is parallel to S arrow and also parallel to UT. That is, PQ is parallel to UT. So if here PQ is 4 centimeter, then UT will also be 4 centimeter, and S arrow will also be 4 centimeters. So that line U arrow is now equals to 4 plus 6. Remember, this part was given to us, which is line TX. Okay, then plus 4. So if we add this together, this will equals to 14 centimeters. Okay, so remember that area of a trapezium is calculated using the formula 1/2 bracket A plus B times height. Okay, so here we'll be having 1/2, then our A will be PQ. Okay, so that will be equals to 4, then plus B, which is U arrow. So that is equals to 14, then times the height, which we calculated to be equals to 8. So here we'll be having 1/2, okay, times 18 times 8. So 2 here is 1, 2 into 18 is 9. So that's 9 times 8 is equals to 72 centimeters square. Okay, so the area of the trapezium PQRU is equals to 72 centimeters square. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option B, 72 centimeters square. Question 5. Find the midpoint of the line joining P. So the coordinates of point P are -3 and 5, and that of Q is 5 and -3. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So remember that there's a formula for calculating the midpoint. Okay, the formula for calculating midpoint of a given point, okay, is x1 plus x2 all over 2 comma then y1 plus y2 all over 2 comma, okay, all over 2, sorry, no comma. So this is the formula for finding the midpoint of a given point, okay, of two given points. Okay, so these are the points. This is the first point P, and this is the second one Q. So this is x1 and this is y1. This is x2 and this is y2. So we just substitute. So x1 is minus 3, then s2 is 5. You'll be having plus 5 all over 2, then comma. Then y1 is 5 and y2, sorry, is minus 3. So remember, minus is stronger than plus. So we just bring the minus here all over 2. Okay, so minus 3 plus 5 will give us 2 all over 2, then comma, then 5 minus 3 will give us 2 all over 2. So 2 into 2 is 1, and 2 into 2 is also 1. So the coordinates of the point is 1 and 1. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option A, 1, 1. Question 6. Determine the locus of a point inside the square PQ arrow X, which is equidistant from PQ and Q arrow. So let's just make a sketch of the square. So the square, remember all the sides of the square are equal. So you'll be having P, you'll be having Q, you'll be having arrow, and you'll be having S. So these are the points inside the circle, which is a PQ and Q arrow, right? Now remember that each angles of a square is equal to 90 degrees. So here will be 90, here will also be 90, here will also be 90. So since we are looking for locus of a point which is equidistant from PQ and Q arrow, but if you look at PQ, line PQ and line Q arrow very well, you discover that there's an angle formed, okay, angle 90 at the vertex Q, right? So if we decide to share this line into two equal halves, you discover that this line will be 45 degree to line PQ and also 45 degree to line Q arrow, okay, which means that the locus of point inside the square PQ arrow, which is equidistant from PQ and Q arrow, is actually the diagonal QX. Now remember that the diagonal simply shares, okay, the angle inside the square into two equal halves, okay? So that makes option A the correct answer to this question. Question 7. Find the value of S in the figure above. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So basically, to solve questions of this kind, we have to use sine rule, okay? So sine rule is A all over sine A is equals to B all over sine B is equals to C all over sine C, right? So let's say this is C. So the side facing it will be the small letter C. So let's say here is B, then the side facing this angle will be B. Then let's say here is A, then the side facing here will be small letter A. Okay, so if you look at this question very well, we are given these two sides and also these two sides. Okay, so that is what we are going to be using. That means we are going to be using B and C. Okay, so B all over sine B. Of course, this is supposed to be small letter B. Okay, then it's equals to small letter C all over sine C, which is capital letter. So okay, so let's input the values. So for our B, we have X all over sine 45 is equals to, then for our C, we have 15 all over sine 60. Okay, but remember that 60 and 45, they are all special angles. So for those that might have forgotten, let me just refresh your memory a little. So if you want to get these angles, you don't have to bother yourself too much. Just draw an equilateral triangle, okay, that all the sides are equal. So in this case, you assume that all the sides are equal to 2 units. So here is 2, here is 2, here is 2. Then take a line down, okay, from the vertex here down. Then here becomes 1, here becomes 1. So here will be angle 60. Remember that all the angles of an equilateral triangle are equal. So here will be 30 since we actually divided it into 2. Okay, and here will be 90 degrees, right? So if we apply Pythagoras theorem to get this side, we are going to be having root 3. Okay, so for 45 is almost the same thing. Draw something like this. Here becomes your 90, here will be 45. Okay, so here will be 1, here will be 1, and here will be equals to root 2. Okay, so then you just use your SOHCAHTOA to get any angle at all that you are asked to find. Okay, so sorry, SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so use your SOHCAHTOA to get any angle that you are looking for. So let's say, for example, you are looking for sine 45. So sine 45 from here will be equals, remember that sine is opposite all over hypotenuse. So that will be 1 all over root 2. So here is 1 all over root 2. Okay. Then we are also looking for sine 60. So we'll move to this side. Okay. So for sine 60, that will be equals to, remember, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So this is the angle. While this is the opposite, okay, and this is the adjacent. So in this case, we'll be having root 3 all over 2. Okay, so we are going to be substituting 1 over root 2 in place of sine 45 and root 3 all over 2 in place of sine 60 into here. So we'll be having x all over. Okay, so first of all, let's cross multiply first. Okay, so to make the whole thing easy, so if we cross multiply, we'll be having x sine 60 is equals to 15, then sine 45. Okay, so since we are looking for x, we divide both sides by sine 60, so that s is equals to 15 sine 45 over sine 60. So we can now substitute. So let's use this part. So we can now substitute. So here we'll be having 15 times 1 over root 2. Okay, since our sine 45 equals to 1 over root 2, then over, which is divided by, okay, and remember our sine 60 is equals to root 3 all over 2. Okay, so here we can multiply out, so that we'll be having 15 all over root 2 divided by root 3 all over 2. Okay, so we'll keep the first fraction, 15 all over root 2, then times 2 all over root 3. Now remember, 15 times 2 is equals to 30, and root 2 times root 3 is equals to root 6. So we have to rationalize the denominator. So to rationalize the denominator of this fraction, we have to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by root 6. Okay, so let's continue from this part. So if we do that, we'll be having 30 root 6 all over 6. So 6 here is 1 and 6 here will be 5. So that the value of x is equals to 5 root 6 centimeters. Okay, so let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option D, 5 root 6. Question 8. P, arrow, and S lie on a circle center as shown above, while Q lies outside the circle. Find angle PSO. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So basically we are looking for PSO. Okay, so we are looking for this angle here, right? So in order to get that, first of all, we must find the angle at the circumference of the circle. Okay, so in order to do that, remember that the circumference of this circle, which is this point, let's call it Y, is actually external, okay, to these two angles that are in QPR. Okay, so remember that the exterior angles of a triangle is equal to the two opposite interior angles. So in that case, this our Y will be equals to 20 plus 35. So I just clean the Y. So the angle here will be equals to 30 plus 20 plus 35. The reason is because the angle here, okay, is external to the two opposite angles that are internal in the triangle PQR, okay, or QPR. Okay, so if we add this together, that will equals to 55 degrees. So the angle here is 55 degrees, but we need to get the angle here. But remember that the angle at the center, okay, of a cyclic quadrilateral, okay, is equal to 2 times the one at the circumference. Okay, so if the angle that we have here is 55, okay, then the one here will be equals to 110 degrees, okay, which is 55 times 2, because the angle here is equal to 2 times the angle at the circumference of the circle. Okay, so since we are looking for here, remember that these lines PO and XO are the radius of this circle. Okay, that the radius of this circle. And remember that from PQ is equal to PQ is equals to SO, right? Now remember that the angle that we have here is actually an isosceles triangle. And remember that the base angles of an isosceles triangle are equal, okay? And the sides to the length of the sides to of any two sides too are also equal. So if here is x, we also call here s, so that we can actually get the value of s. So remember that 100 plus, that is 110 degree plus s degree is equals to 180. The reason being, sum of angles in a triangle is equals to 180. So if we add these two s's together, we'll be having 2s degrees to be equals to 180 minus 110. Okay, so 2x degree is equals to, so if we subtract here, this will be equals to 70. That is 180 minus 110, right? That will be equals to 70. So here we have 70 degree. So since we are looking for just one of the s, we just divide both sides by 2. So that s degree is equals to 70 divided by 2, and that will be equals to 35 degrees. Okay, so the angle PSO is actually equals to 35 degrees, because this is the angle we are looking for, PSO. Okay, just from this rectangle. Okay, so the angle PSO is equals to 35 degrees. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option C, 35 degrees. Question 9. The locus of a point which is 5 centimeters from the line LM is A. So the locus of a point which is 5 centimeters from the line LM consists of a point which maintains this distance, okay, from the line. So let's assume that we have a line LM. So we are looking for locus of point that is 5 centimeters from the line. So the locus of point that is 5 centimeters from the line LM will consist of two parallel lines. Okay, so one will be here and another one will be here, but the distance between this line, okay, this line, this new line, and the LM should be 5 centimeters, and the distance between LM and this other line here should also be 5 centimeters. Okay, so the locus of a point which is 5 centimeters from the line LM is a pair of lines on opposite sides of LM and parallel to it. So if you check these two lines carefully, they are parallel to the line LM and they are 5 centimeters from it. Okay, so that makes option B the correct answer to this question. Do you know you can take practice questions with our JAMB simulated CBT past questions? All you need to do is to click on the link in the description below, and that will take you to Myschool website. There you will need to download Myschool mobile app for your Android devices and Myschool software for your laptops and computers. Please go ahead and start practicing. Moving on to question 10. If y is equals to 3 cos x over 3, find the y ds when s is equals to 3 pi all over 2. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So basically, we are asked to find or to differentiate 3 cos x all over 3. Okay, so that the y ds, if we differentiate it, the y ds will be equals to, now first of all, our 3 still remains, right? Then remember that the coefficient of 1, the coefficient of x here is 1 over 3. So you'll be having times 1 over 3. Now remember, if we differentiate cos, we'll be having minus sine. Okay, so we still have our x all over 3. So if we put this together, 3 will cancel 3, so that we'll be having minus sine x all over 3. But we are asked to replace x with 3 pi all over 2. Okay, so in the place of s, we are going to replace it with 3 pi all over 2. So we'll be having 3 pi all over 2, then divided by 3. Okay, so sorry, our minus, so this will be equals to minus sine 3 pi all over 2, then times, because this is actually over 1, so here will be times 1 all over 3. So 3 we cancel out 3. Okay, remember that pi is equals to 180, not 90 degree. Okay, so we'll be having minus sine 180 divided by 2. So 2 here is 1 and 2 here is going to give us 90. Okay, remember that sine 90 degrees is equals to 1. So 1 times minus 1, which is this minus here, that will give us minus 1. Okay, so let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option D, minus 1. I believe you are enjoying this video content. If yes, please do not forget to hit the like button, click on the subscribe button, and lastly, tap on the notification bell to get informed as soon as we release the next videos. Question 11. Find the derivative of 2 plus 3x in bracket, then 1 minus x in bracket with respect to x. Let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So whenever you see derivative, just know that they are saying differentiate, okay, the y, the x. So to differentiate this, we can either use the chain rule or we can decide to multiply out and differentiate, okay? So let's use the chain rule to differentiate with respect to x. So let's say y is equals to this, right? Yeah, the question even says, okay, so let's say y is equals to this. So we now differentiate with respect to x, okay? So in this case, we are going to be using the chain rule. So using the chain rule, we'll be having v du first, then plus u dv. Okay, so this is our u. What is in the first bracket is our u, and what is in the second bracket is our v. Okay, so we just substitute. So here we'll be having 1 minus x in bracket. Then if we differentiate 2 plus 3x, we are going to be having 3. Okay, so here will be 3, then plus, here we'll be having 2 plus 3x in bracket. Then if we differentiate u, okay, with respect to s, of course, that will give us minus 1. So let's open up this bracket. So here we'll be having 3 minus 3x plus minus 1 times 2 will give us minus 2. So minus 2 is stronger than plus, so let's bring our minus 2 here. Then minus 1 times plus 3x, that will give us minus 3x, okay? So let's arrange everything properly. So here we'll be having 3 minus 2, then minus 3x minus 3x. So that 3 minus 2 will be equals to 1, then minus 3x minus 3x will be minus 6x. So this is the derivative of 2 plus 3x in bracket and 1 minus x in bracket. Okay, so let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option C, 1 minus 6x. Question 12. What is the rate of change of the volume V of a hemisphere with respect to its radius r when r is equals to 2? So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So remember that hemisphere is actually the half of a sphere, okay? And we know that the volume of a sphere is equals to 4 over 3 pi r cubed. So since we are looking for the volume of hemisphere, okay, that will be half of this, which is 1 over 2 times 4 over 3 pi r cubed, okay? So 2 here will be 1, 2 here will be 2, which will be equals to 2 over 3 pi r cubed. So this is the formula for calculating the volume of a hemisphere. Okay, so basically here they are asking us to differentiate the volume of a hemisphere with respect to its radius. So we'll be having the VH all over the r. So if we differentiate, we'll be having, so first of all, we'll keep our constant, which is this number, 2 over 3. Then we use this 3 to multiply the whole thing. That will be times 3, then pi, then r. Then we subtract 1 from the power of r. So that will be equals to 2. So basically, we are done differentiating the volume of the hemisphere with respect to the radius. So 3, we cancel out 3, so that we have 2 pi r square left. But we are told that we should take r to be equals to 2, meaning anywhere we see r, we replace it with 2. So we'll be having 2 times pi, then times 2 raised to power 2, which is 2 times pi times 4. Okay, so 2 times 4 will be equals to 8, then pi. Okay, so let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option A, 8 pi. Question 13. Find the derivatives of the function y is equals to 2x squared, then bracket open, 2x minus 1, bracket close, at the point s is equals to minus 1. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So like I said earlier, derivative means differentiate. Okay, so basically we are asked to differentiate 2x squared, okay, then bracket open 2x minus 1. So we can decide to also open up the bracket and just expand, or we can use the chain rule to expand. Okay, so let's use the chain rule to expand. So in this case, we'll be having the y, the x, since y is equals to 2x squared, then bracket open 2x minus 1. Okay, so since we are using the chain rule, remember this is our u and this is our v. And for the chain rule, we use v du plus u dv. Okay, so in this case, we first of all keep our u, which is 2x minus 1. Then we differentiate u, okay, with respect to x, of course. So this will be 4x. Okay, use these 2 to multiply 2, that will give us 4. Then subtract 1 from these 2. So you'll be having x raised to power 1, which is the same thing as x. Okay, then plus, so here we keep our u, which is 2x squared. Then we differentiate v with respect to u, and that is, in this case, that will be equals to 2. Okay, so let's put it in bracket. So now we can now open up the bracket. So here, 4x times 2s, that will be 8s squared. Then 4s times minus 1, that will be minus 4x. Then plus 2 times 2s squared, that will be 4s squared. So these two are like terms, so we can add them together, and that will be equals to 12s squared minus 4x. But remember, in this question, we are asked to replace x with minus 1. So anywhere I see x in this expression, I'll replace it with minus 1. So I'll be having 12 bracket minus 1 squared minus 4 bracket minus 1. Okay, so remember, minus 1 squared is equals to 1. So here we still have 12. Then minus times minus is going to give us 4. So here we'll be having plus 4. So that if we add 12 to 4, we'll be having 16. Okay, so let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option B, 16. Question 14. Evaluate the integral of x squared minus 1 dx when the limits, we are given the upper and lower limit, the upper limit to be equals to 3 and the lower limit to be equals to 1. So let's move over to the board to integrate. Okay, so in this case, we are asked to integrate. So if we are to integrate this, okay, so we are asked to integrate with respect to x. Okay, so if we integrate, here we'll be having, if we integrate x squared, we'll be having x raised to power 3 all over 3. So basically in integration, you add 1 to the power, then the new power, use it to divide the term. So in this case, the new term now becomes x raised to power 3. Okay, then minus. So basically, yes, since we are adding 1 to the power, right? Now, of course, the power of x here is actually 0. So if you add 1 to it, then the s will appear. Okay, so basically here we'll just be having x. So this is our limit, 3 and 1. So let's fix it. So x, here we'll be having s raised to power 3 all over 3 for the upper limit, then minus 3 in brackets, then minus, so let's go for the lower limit now. So you'll be having 1 raised to power 3 all over 3 minus 1. Then we can close the brackets. Okay, so 3 raised to power 3 is 27, and 27 divided by 3 is 9. So you'll be having 9 minus 3 in bracket, then minus 1 all over 3 minus 1. Okay, so let's just tidy this up. So if we tidy this up, basically here, okay, so let's continue from here. So this will be equals to 6. Then we have minus here. So if we deal with what is in this bracket, we are going to be having minus 2 over 3. Okay, basically that is what we are going to be having, because the LCM of 3 and of course the invisible one here is 1. So 3 into 3 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Then your minus sign, minus. Then 1 into 3 is 3. 3 times 3 times 1, that will give us 3. So the denominator here will be having 1 minus 3, which will give us minus 2 all over 3. Now, but here, remember that minus times minus is actually equals to plus. So here we have 6 plus 2 over 3. So we can solve this little fraction, okay? So let's solve it here. 6 plus 2 over 3. This is also over 1. It doesn't change anything. So the LCM of 3 1 and 3 is 3. Okay, so 1 into 3 is equals to 3. Then 3 times 6 will give us 18. Then plus 3 into 3 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. So here we'll be having 20 all over 3. So we can decide to express this as a mixed fraction, okay, because what we have here is an improper fraction. So we can change it to a mixed fraction by finding out the number of times or the number of 3's that we have in 20. That will be 6, because 3 times 6 will give us 18, right? So we still have 2 left. So the 2 left here becomes the numerator, while the 3 still remains, okay? So the answer to this question is 6 on number 2 over 3. So let's move over to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option D, 6 on number 2 over 3. Question 15. Some white balls put in a basket containing 12 red balls and 16 black balls. If the probability of picking a white ball from the basket is 3 over 7, how many white balls were introduced? So let's move over to the board to calculate for the number of white balls that were introduced. Okay, so first thing first is for us to get the total number of balls, right? So in this case, it will be on the number of red balls plus the number of white balls plus the number of black balls, okay? But remember that in this question, we are not told the number of white balls, which is actually what we are looking for. So in this case, we just say let it be x, okay? So total balls, in this case, will be equals to 12 plus 16 plus x. So that we'll be having 28 plus x as the total number of balls, right? Now, what is the probability of picking a white ball? So the probability of picking a white ball is equals to the number of white balls all over the total numbers of balls. But in this case, the probability of picking a white ball is given to us to be equals to 3 over 7. So that this becomes x all over 28 plus x, okay, is equals to 3 all over 7, right? So we just cross multiply since we are looking for the value of x and we are given two fractions that are equal to each other. So we cross multiply, okay? So you'll be having 7x, okay, is equals to 3 times 28, then plus 3x. Okay, so we move this 3x to this side of the equation, so that we'll be having 7x minus 3s is equals to 3 times 28, okay? So the reason why I didn't multiply to get the answer is so that we will not start cracking our head. Since we are going to be dividing and these two numbers are multiplying each other, I think there's no issue with that. So there will be 4x is equals to 3 times 28. Now, since we are looking for the value of x, we can just divide both sides by the coefficient of x, which is 4. So that x is equals to 3 times 28 all over 4. So 4 here is 1, and 4 into 28 is 7, okay? So that s is now equals to 3 times 7, which is equals to 21. So the number of white balls is actually equals to 21. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, which is option B, 21. Question 16. Find the mean deviation of 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So remember, to calculate for mean deviation, we normally use the formula summation x minus x bar, okay? X minus s bar all over n. Okay, so let us solve this. First of all, we need to get the value of s bar. Okay, we need to get the value of s bar. Of course, remember, this is absolute value. So this is supposed to be like this. Okay, symbolizing absolute value. So remember, for absolute value, minus 2 is also equals to 2. Okay, and just like that, 2 is also equals to 2, minus 2 is equals to 2, minus 1 is equals to 1, 1 is also equals to 1. Okay, so just take note of that. So first of all, let's calculate for s bar, which is mean, right? So s bar, which is mean, is equals to, so we have to add all these numbers together and divide it by 4 because the numbers are 4, okay? So here we have 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 divided by 4. Okay, so if we add these numbers together, we'll be having 10 actually divided by 4. So 10 divided by 4 is 2.5. Okay, so I think it's better for us to get a table. So here will be x, which is the 4 numbers. Okay, so here will be 1, 2, 3, 4. While here will be the x minus s bar. Okay, while here will be the absolute value, which is x minus s bar. Okay, so 1 minus 2.5, that will be equals to minus 1.5. So minus 1.5, the absolute value of minus 1.5 is still 1.5. Okay, so here we have 2 minus 2.5, and this will be equals to minus 0.5. Absolute value of minus 0.5 is still 0.5. So here we have 3 minus 2.5, and this will be equals to 0.5. So absolute value of 0.5 is still 0.5. So here we have 4 minus 2.5, okay? And this will be equals to 1.5. Remember, the absolute value of 1.5 is still 1.5. So we just look for the summation of the absolute value of x minus x bar, okay? And this will be equals to, of course, 1.5 plus 1.5 is already 3. Then 0.5 plus 0.5 is already 1. So if we add it together, that will be equals to 4. Okay? So here we just substitute our values to get our answer, which is the mean deviation. So here we'll be having 4 divided by 4, and that will be equals to 1. Okay? So the mean deviation of the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 is equals to 1. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option C, 1. Question 17. An unbiased die is rolled 100 times and the outcome is tabulated above. What is the probability of obtaining a 5? Okay, so the probability of obtaining a 5. Okay, so in this case, if you are given a tabulated question like this under probability, so basically your attention is on the frequency. So you basically work with the frequency, but also paying attention to the numbers above the frequency. So in the case of this question, we are asked what is the probability of obtaining a number 5, right? So the probability, now we now look for the frequency of obtaining the number 5, which is 20, right? And if we add all the frequencies together, it's equals to 100. Remember, we are told that the unbiased die is rolled 100 times, okay? So the probability of obtaining a 5 in this case will be equals to 20, which is the frequency, okay, of obtaining 5. That is the number of times 5 is obtained all over the total frequency, which is 100. So 0 cancel 0, 2 here 1, 2 here 5. So that the probability of obtaining a 5 is equals to 1 over 5. So that makes option A the correct answer to this question. Question 18. The pie chart above shows the distribution of the crops harvested from a farmland in a year. If 3,000 tons of millet is harvested, what amount of beans is harvested? So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So from what you can see, okay, from the diagram on the board, you discover that the angle of millet is not given to us. But remember, the sum of angles at a point, or the angles in a circle, is equals to 360. So remember, whenever you see the sign, it actually stands for 90 degrees, meaning that the angle of the sector of maize is 90 degrees. So we add all these angles together and subtract it from 360. Okay, so if we do that, if we add this to that, will be equals to 150. Then 150 plus 150 is 300. Then we subtract that 300 from 360. That makes the angle of the sector of beans to be equals to 60 degrees. Okay, so we already know it. Now remember, here we're told that the amount of millet harvested is 3,000 tons, right? And the angle of millet is 150. So here 150 degree is equals to 3,000 tons, right? Now for beans, that will be 60 degree will be equals to what? Okay, so we can cross multiply to get the answer, or to get the amount of beans actually harvested. Okay, of course, but if you don't want to use this method, there's another way to which you can use to solve this question, but which will take more time. So it's better to approach this question this way. Okay, so if we cross multiply, we'll be having 60. So these two will cross multiply. So let's call here x. So if we multiply s by 150, we'll be having 150s being equal to 3000 times 60. Okay, so since we are looking for S, and mind you, S represents the amount of beans harvested. Okay, so 3000 times 60, we simply divide it by 150. Okay, so that 0, we cancel out 0, right? 50 here is 1. 15 into 30, first of all, will be 2, then 0, 0. That is 15 into 3000 is 200. Then 200 times 6, that equals to 1,200 tons, okay? Meaning that the amount of beans harvested is equals to 1,200 tons. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option C, 1,200 tons. Question 19. In how many ways can 2 students be selected from a group of 5 students in a debating competition? So this is a typical question on combination because there's no order to follow in selecting those 2 students, okay, from the group of 5 students. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. Okay, so the answer to this question is simply 5 combination 2. Okay, and 5 combination 2 is equals to 5 factorial all over 5 minus 2 in bracket factorial 2 factorial. So this will be equals to 5 factorial over 3 factorial then times 2 factorial. Okay, since the brackets symbolize times. Okay, so here we'll be having 5 times 4 then times 3 factorial all over 3 factorial then times 2 times 1. Okay, so 3 factorial will cancel out 3 factorial, then 2 here is 1, then 2 here is 2, so that we have 5 times 2, which is equals to 10 ways. Okay, so 2 students can be selected from a group of 5 students in 10 ways. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option B, 10 ways. Do you have any question to ask? If yes, please click on the link in the description below, and that will take you to my school website. There you can ask all your questions, and our army of solution providers will provide solution to all your questions within a short period of time. Moving on to question 20. The mean age of a group of students is 15 years. When the age of a teacher, 45 years old, is added to the age of the students, the mean of their ages becomes 18 years. Find the number of the students in the group. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. Okay, so here we don't actually know the total age, okay, of the student. So in this case, we say let the total ages of the students be equals to x, right? But remember that s bar, which is mean, is equals to the total number all over the number of the items, right? Okay, so in this case, it will be the mean of the student is equals to the total age. The mean age of the student is equals to the total age of the student all over the number of the student, and in this case, is equals to 15. Okay, so here we can get the value of x. So this will be s is now equals to 15n. Okay, so let's take note of this. Now we are told that a teacher was added, and that teacher is 45 years old, and that resulted to a new mean, right? So s bar in this case will be equals to the total number of the students, which is 15n, then plus the age of the teacher, which is 45, then all over the number of the student plus the one teacher that was added, which is 1. Okay, and this will be equals to 18. Okay, so here we simply cross multiply. So if we cross multiply, we'll be having 18n plus 18, which is 18 plus times n, 18n, and 18 times 1, which is 18, is equals to 15n plus 45. So here we simply collect like 10. So 15n will move down to this side. So that will be having 18n minus 15n will now be equals to 45 minus 18. Okay, so 18n minus 15n, that will be equals to 3n, and 45 minus 18, that will be equals to 27, right? So we are looking for n, which is the number of the students. We divide both sides by 3, so that n is equals to 27 divided by 3, and that will be equals to 9. Okay, so the number of students is equals to 9. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option A, 9. Do you have better steps or solution to any of these questions? If yes, kindly go to the comment section below to comment the question number and the solution you wish to share. Question 21. A container has 30 gold medals, 22 silver medals, and 18 bronze medals. If one medal is selected at random from the container, what is the probability that it is not a gold? Okay, so the probability that it is not a gold is the probability that it is gold plus the probability that it is silver. Okay, or you can as well get it by saying, okay, the probability that it's not gold is 1 minus the probability that it is gold. So both of them will give you the same answer. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. Okay, so the probability that it is not gold, right? It is not gold will be equals to 1 minus the probability that it is gold. Okay, so here let's get the total number of the medals. So 22 plus 18, that will be equals to 40, then 40 plus 30, that will be equals to 70. Okay, so the total number of medals is 70, right? So here we'll be having 1 minus. So the probability that it is gold will be 30 all over 70, right? So 0 will cancel out 7. Then 1 minus 3 over 7, that will be equals to 4 over 7. Okay, so the probability that it's not gold is 4 over 7. Or it could be the probability that it's not gold means that it is silver and it is bronze. Okay, so in this case the probability that it is silver and it is bronze will be 22 over 70 then plus 18 over 70, which will be equals to 70 under all over. If we add this to that, will be equals to 40. So if you divide, that will still give you 7 over 4. Okay, so whichever way you want to answer this question, your answer will be correct, provided you did the right thing. Okay, so let's return back to the board, and that will be option C, 4 over 7. Question 22. A committee of 6 is to be formed by a state governor from 9 state commissioners and 3 members of the House of Assembly. In how many ways can the members of the committee be chosen so as to include 1 member of the House of Assembly? So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So a state governor, a state government was trying to form a committee of 6 members, right? So from the information that are given to us, the House of Assembly, we have 3 persons, while for the state commissioners, we have 9 persons. But they said in the selection, okay, the selection should include 1 person from the State House of Assembly. Okay, so in order to do the selection, we're having 3 combination 1 times 9 combination 5. Okay, since you have already selected 1 person from House of Assembly, then the remaining 5 persons will be selected from the state commissioners. Okay, so 3 combination 1, let's do it one after the other. So 3 combination 1 is 3 factorial all over 3 minus 1 factorial, then 1 factorial. Okay, so here we'll be having 3 times 2 factorial, while here we'll be having 2 factorial then times 1. Okay, so 2 factorial will cancel out 2 factorial, so that here we have 3 ways. Okay, that will be multiplied by, now from the 5 that will be chosen from the state commissioners, we'll be having 9 factorials over 9 in brackets minus 5 in bracket factorial, then 5 factorial. So that here we'll be having 9 factorial over 4 factorial, then 5 factorial. So we'll be having 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 factorial all over 4, okay, times 3 times 2 times 1, then times 5 factorial. So 5 factorial, we cancel out 5 factorial. Okay, then 4 here is 1, then 4 here is 2, then 3 times 2 is 6, okay, which will take out this 6. So at the end of the day, we still have 9 times 2 times 7 left. Okay, so if we combine everything, we'll be having 3 times 9 times 2 times 7, and this will be equals to 378 ways. Okay, so the state governor can do this in 378 ways. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option A, 378 ways. Question 23. The weight of 10 pupils in a class are 15 kg, 16 kg, 17 kg, 18 kg, 16 kg, 17 kg, 17 kg, 17 kg, 18 kg, and 16 kg. What is the range of this distribution? So range simply is the highest of the data minus the lowest of the data. So from here, the highest of the data is 18, while the lowest of the data is 15. So if we subtract 15 from 18, that will be equals to 3. So the range of this distribution is equals to 3 kg. That makes option B the correct answer to this question. Question 24. I, rectangular bars of equal widths. I, the height of each rectangular bar is proportional to the frequency of the corresponding class interval. I, rectangular bars have common sides with no gaps in between. A histogram is described completely by, so every options given here from 1 to I actually describes a histogram. Okay, so that makes option A the correct answer to this question. A histogram has rectangular bars of equal width, and the height of each rectangular bar is proportional to the corresponding class interval. Then the rectangular bars have common sides with no gap in between them. Okay, so everything listed here describes a histogram completely. That makes option A the correct answer to this question. Question 25. Y is inversely proportional to x and y is equals to 4 when s is equals to 1 over 2. Find s when y is equals to 10. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So in this question, we are told that y is inversely proportional to x. Okay, so y is inversely proportional to x is written as y is proportional to 1 over x. Okay, so this is, we read this as y is inversely proportional to x. But remember, this is just a relationship, not an equation. So we can make it an equation by introducing a constant. So once we introduce a constant, then this proportionality symbol will change. Okay, so you'll be having y is equals to k all over s. Now, since we are looking for the first thing first is to look for the value of k. So we just cross multiply so that k is equals to x, y. Now we can now go back and substitute the first values of x and y that is given to us, which is 4 times 1 over 2. Okay, 1 over 2 for x and 4 for y. So 2 here is 1, 2 here is 2. So that k is equals to 2. Then we now return back to the original equation and substitute the value of k into it. So here y will be equals to 2 all over x. Okay, so the next question is, we should find the value of s when y is equals to 10. Okay, so from here we can make s the subject of formula by switching the position of s with that of y, so that s is equals to 2 all over y. But remember, our y is equals to 10, so we're facing 10 here. So 2 here is 1 and 2 here is 5. So the value of s is equals to 1 over 5 when the value of y is equals to 10. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option C, 1 over 5. I believe you enjoyed this video content. If yes, please do not forget to hit the like button, click on the subscribe button, and lastly, tap on the notification bell to get informed as soon as we release the next videos.